Hey, deep divers, welcome back. This year's Nobel Prizes. They've been throwing some serious curveballs. We've got a stack of articles and research, and it's making us question what the Nobel Committee is really saying about science and where it's headed. To help me sort through all of this, I've got the expert in unraveling the big picture, expert speaker. You know how expert speaker is cutting through the noise, connecting the dots, and asking those so what questions that make everything click. Let's start with the big one, the Nobel Prize in Physics. This year, it went to Geoffrey Hinton, a big name in AI. But here's the thing, he wasn't the first to discover backpropagation, the key algorithm he's known for. That credit goes to Kelly and Dreyfus, who actually came up with the idea first. Hinton is the one who really put it on the map, making it a game changer in the field.
That's the first piece of the puzzle, you see. Hinton is being celebrated for taking this algorithm and making it work, for applying it in a way that transformed AI research. It's almost like getting a Nobel Prize for inventing a really cool new hammer, not for building the house that Hammer helped build.
Okay, let's unpack this. So, is the Nobel Prize now about celebrating the tools that lead to discoveries rather than the discoveries themselves? It's not just about Hinton. Either the chemistry prize this year went to someone who used AI to predict how molecules would bond. It's all about using AI as a tool, not just exploring the underlying concepts.
Exactly. And it raises some really interesting questions, especially when you look at the history of the Nobel Prize. Where are the awards for McCulloch and Pitts, the pioneers of artificial neural networks? Or von Neumann, Shannon, and Turing, who laid the foundation for information and computing. These were huge breakthroughs, foundational ideas that underpin so much of what we do in science and technology today.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If the Nobel Prize is supposed to recognize those breakthrough tools that help us understand the universe, wouldn't it make sense to award those who actually built those tools? Like the inventors of computers, the mathematicians who laid the groundwork for algorithms, even those who developed the fundamental concepts behind AI. Why are they being left out of the picture?
It's almost like the Nobel Committee is playing catch-up. AI and computer science are so intertwined with every field now, they can't ignore them anymore. But they're still trying to figure out how to fit them into the existing framework of the Nobel Prize, and it's not always a smooth process. The result? Well, it's sparking a lot of debate about what really counts as a scientific breakthrough.
One of the articles you shared points out that a lot of young researchers are stuck in those postdoc positions, struggling to get funding. If these prizes are all about celebrating established figures, shouldn't some of that recognition and funding be given to the people who are doing the groundwork?
It's a classic catch-22 situation. How do you get noticed in the scientific world if you're not already a big name? It's like trying to break into an exclusive club where the only way to get in is to already be a member.
And it feels like we're seeing this Matthew effect play out in real time. You know that saying, the rich get richer? It's like that in science, too. The researchers who already have grants, publications, and awards are the ones who are most likely to get even more.
And that makes it incredibly difficult for young researchers, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds, to break through. They're often working on shoestring budgets with limited resources, while established scientists have access to top-tier labs and funding.
This year's Nobel Prizes also raised some red flags about diversity in science. Not a single woman was awarded a Nobel Prize in any category.
It's a stark reminder of the systemic barriers that women and other underrepresented groups face in STEM fields. And it's not just about representation, it's about ensuring that we have a diversity of perspectives and approaches to tackling scientific challenges.
The article from Science Daily argued that this lack of diversity isn't just a matter of fairness, it actually hinders scientific progress. When we have a narrow range of voices and experiences represented in research, we limit the potential for innovation.
Absolutely. Different perspectives lead to different questions, different approaches, different solutions. If we want to solve the world's most pressing problems, we need all hands on deck, and that means creating a more inclusive and equitable scientific community.
This whole conversation also has me thinking about the role of industry versus academia in scientific research. For example, Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, won the Nobel Prize in Physics for his work on AlphaFold. But he wasn't the only one involved in developing that technology. It took a massive team of engineers and scientists, years of work, and let's be honest, a ton of Google's resources.
Right. It was a company, not a single person, that developed AlphaFold. And not just any company, but one with almost unlimited financial resources. It raises some interesting questions about whether we should be awarding Nobel Prizes to CEOs based on the work of their companies.
It's almost like we're seeing a shift in what's considered a scientific breakthrough. Instead of those fundamental discoveries about the universe, it's about who's got the resources to build the flashiest tools, even if they didn't come up with the original idea.
What's fascinating here is the blurring of lines between pure science and technological application. Take AlphaFold, for example. It's a remarkable tool, no doubt. But it's built on decades of research from countless scientists, many of whom may never get the recognition they deserve. It's almost like giving an award for the best meal to the restaurant owner instead of the chef who actually cooked it.
And what about the folks who are just starting out? We've got all these brilliant minds stuck in postdoc positions, scraping by on tiny grants. They're doing groundbreaking work, but they're struggling to even get their foot in the door because the system is so geared towards established names. It creates a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. The people with the most resources and recognition get more resources and recognition, while others struggle to be heard. It's like trying to climb a ladder where the rungs are getting farther apart the higher you go.
And it's not just about money, is it? It's about influence, prestige, even access to data. Like companies like Google, they've got access to these massive data sets that most researchers, they could only dream of. I mean, how can you compete with that?
So are we saying that the Nobel Prize is becoming more like, say, the Oscars? A big, glamorous event that's more about marketing and buzz than actual substance?
Oh, I would go that far. The Nobel Prize, it still carries a lot of weight in the scientific community,
Right.
but it's not immune,
Right.
right? It's not immune to the pressures and biases that shape, the world around it. It's a reflection of our values.
Mm.
And right now, those values, well, they seem to be tilting towards those who can shout the loudest,
Yeah.
generate the biggest headlines.
And let's be honest, part of this is about hype. AI, it's the hot topic right now, so it makes sense that the Nobel Committee wants to be seen as being, on top of the latest trends. But does that come at the expense of recognizing other fields that might be just as important but not as flashy?
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, right, it's about more than just prizes. It's about how we value different kinds of knowledge and, importantly, who gets to decide what's considered quote-unquote important science. Are we prioritizing research that leads to commercial applications? Or are we also supporting those fundamental questions about the universe that, well, they might not have immediate practical benefits?
This isn't just some abstract debate about the nature of science. It has real-world implications for funding, for research priorities, and ultimately the kinds of problems we're able to solve as a society.
Absolutely. And this year's Nobel Prizes, they should be a wake-up call, I think. We need to have a real conversation about the direction of science, about how we can create a system that rewards genuine scientific progress, the kind that benefits all of humanity. What do we really value? Groundbreaking discoveries, regardless of who made them, who funded them. It's a question worth pondering.
That's a powerful thought to leave us with. A big thank you to expert speaker for diving into this complex topic with me. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.